Hi everybody, welcome to this little video in which I show you how I personally go about setting up the Ketron EVM module with my Yamaha Genos 2. Now, I'm on a Yamaha Genos 2. This applies if you have the original Genos or any of the SX series. You can do it exactly as I'm showing you here. And I need to stress this is my personal way of working with it, but it works very well, so I want to show you how I go about it. The first thing we need to do is connect the module to the keyboard, and the most two important connections, one is the MIDI cable, the 5-pin MIDI cable, which people often get the wrong way round. Whatever keyboard you are using as your master keyboard, the keyboard with which you are going to play the EVM module, then that keyboard needs to send a message out, which is then read by the module. So we must connect MIDI out on the back of the keyboard, and that will go to MIDI in on the module. So the message goes out of the keyboard and is then read by the module, and obviously the module does the action that this instrument has asked it to do. That is one connection that's really important. The other one is audio, because you need to be able to hear. The module doesn't have a speaker in it. So there are left and right audio outputs on the back, in this case of the Ketron EVM, and we need to put that to line in left and right on the Genos. That will enable us to hear all the sounds and the styles from the Ketron module. Now the next stage is to set up our MIDI settings, and basically we just need to make sure that we mirror those settings. And you remember the little rule about the MIDI cable, that this sends the signal out. So let's have a look at our Ketron MIDI settings first. I'm going to go into menu on here, and I'm going to go into MIDI, and I'm going to go to edit. Now, do you remember we just said that the module receives messages? So we have transmit and receive options on the screen. I've chosen receive, and as you can see from the settings, right, which is where all the main voices from the Ketron go, that's set to channel 1. And left, which controls the lower voices on the Ketron, and most importantly the styles and the chord changes, we've set to channel 2. And basically that's all you need to set on the Ketron at this stage. So we now turn our attention to setting up the MIDI on the Genos. So we go into our menu 2, and onto MIDI. And this time we need to look at transmit, because I will repeat once more, it is the keyboard that transmits a message or sends a message out to the module. So we need to marry up what we've done on the EVM module. So we can see here on page 1, right 1 is set on channel 1. That's great. So this transmits a message on channel 1, and we've already said that the EVM receives the message on channel 1. And the left, this transmits on channel 2, and the EVM receives on channel 2. The other sections, to be honest, the easiest thing is to just turn them off. Okay, and that's it. The next stage is purely personal, although I'm going to show you a way round where you can have both options. If you go onto the System tab, you have what they call a local control, and that allows you to switch sections totally on and off on the Genos. So I have right 1 and left, which is the two means that we're using to talk to the module. I've got them turned off on the Genos. Now what that means is if I just lean over and turn the volume down on my Ketron there, I won't get any sound, even though the voice is on and the volumes are all up as normal. And that's because I've switched the local control off. If I was to tick that and bring it back on, there is my Genos sound again. If I bring the Ketron up in volume, so the mandolin and strings are coming from the Ketron, and the boys' choir is coming from the Genos. If I switch the local control back off on the Genos, we've lost the choir element. Now, obviously, on the Genos, I've still got right 2 and right 3, so I can still blend 2 sounds from the Genos with the number of sounds that I'm using on the Ketron. But what I've done is I've saved 2 MIDI presets on the Yamaha, and we do that by just pressing the little save icon up there. One of them I've called EVM, and that I've set the local control to off, and I've created another one called EVM2 where I've left the local controls on. Now, why have I done that? Because basically, if you go to memorize something on the Yamaha, I've now ticked MIDI settings. So I can, within each individual registration memory, I can store a different MIDI setup. So have a look what I've done here. In this first one, I've used that MIDI setting called EVM1. So I'm just hearing the EVM module. In number 2, I've got the same sound, but I've used EVM2 MIDI setup, and that will mean that the Yamaha will sound as well. So, within a bank of registrations, you can either have the Genos voices on or off. Obviously, as I said, you can blend right 2 and right 3, but it makes it so flexible. Make sure you save the MIDI setting on the Ketron and you save the relevant MIDI settings on the Genos there. And that is how we do it. So if I was to choose my registrations here on the Ketron, let's come out of the MIDI page. There we go. And we choose registrations. I can change any of those registrations there, and I could bring in different sections if I want to. I've got the key start on, so away we go. And that's how I connect the Ketron EVM with Yamaha Genos.